Scott, I just want to give you a quick rundown on your house. What we're going to do is that is the section that was damaged by the previous tenants. So we're going to paint this, and we're going to go, because it's this funky gloss. You see that gloss? It's very hard to cut it in and just do patch paint, like flat paint. So we're going to take it from this wall up and over the door and terminate on a corner. Then we're going to come in here. We're going to catch from the crown molding up. We're going to break it off on that corner and come over the top here and break it off the kitchen cabinet. And then we're going to get this wall, and we're going to go ahead and paint that wall. Then we come into the living room. You've got some nail pops in the sheetrock, and this warrant officer was asking specific questions about paint. So I wanted to get it rented. So what we're going to do is we're going to paint this wall here to the ceiling, up and over to the next corner, and break it off. And while we're here, we have to get that mantle because it's got all kinds of nails and sheetrock damage, like nail pops and previous repairs, and a funky looking corner bead that was put on here. It looks pretty rough, like it's kind of pulling off a little bit. So that's probably where we're going to break it off at. We're going to leave the rest of the living room alone. We're going to get this wall here that had some sheetrock damage. Then I think that is the end of the sheetrock damage. But we do want to replace, I didn't see this earlier, but it's a ceiling fan that apparently someone has screwed around with, and the remnants of the carcass is over there. So I'm going to get a cheap ceiling fan. I think we can still get some for like 25, 30 bucks at Home Depot. And we'll pick that up so we can replace that. In the master, they had some crazy border they put at the top of the ceiling that was kind of peeling off in sections, and they glued it. Bless their little hearts. So we're gonna go ahead, and he already pulled it, and we just gotta get the glue off of there. We're gonna sand the mess out of it. I'm gonna, for ease of labor and for looks and aesthetics, we're just gonna go ahead and put in some crown molding in here. It'll save time, it'll save money, and your room will look so much better. So when we go to sell this in a year or two, it's gonna look a lot better. So I'm kind of looking forward to the future. I'm trying not to get too crazy with the paint, because I know when we go to sell this in a year or two, you're not gonna go back with semi-gloss and have that horrific paint in here. You'll go to a flat where it's very easy to hide defects. And I think the other issue that we had was we got to get that buckle, which is right there. Every stud in the world is pushing back on me, not wanting to touch this. So I have a feeling I'm gonna have to do this personally to get that repaired. And then the last item, Scott, I believe on the menu is the rear handrail system that the wind was blowing the other day, Scott, and the pickets were floating in the air. It was hilarious. Kind of sad, but hilarious. But the bottom line is we have a safety issue. There's just no way that we can put a renter in here with stuff like this. And so what we're going to end up doing is we're pricing out a plastic handrail system, so we don't have to paint this in 2 years or a year and a half when you go to sell it. And it's going to not have to worry about wood rot, and it'll be permanent. And it's going to look real nice. It's a little more expensive, but we don't have to revisit a repair again in another year and a half or 2 years, because this guy has dogs, and hopefully he's not going to want to chew on plastic versus chewing on wood, which for some reason dogs just love to chew. And this thing is just completely rotted out. Now what I will do for you is I will pull whatever good pickets I have here, and I'll replace them and put them on the front porch, so we don't have to replace the front porch, and we'll just remove the bad pickets out front with the ones back here, and they're similar in paint, so we'll probably get by with just a little touch up. I think that's about it, John. Is there anything else you're doing? Get this knocked out and get this squared away. I'll send this video to you, John, Scott, and if you have any questions, just give me a buzz. We're gonna get this wrapped up here in the next day or two. All right, Scott, I've got one room. This is the front, I guess you'd call it the pocket door, the room in the front of your house. And it's got all kinds of nicks, nails, and everything else that we had marked before. It had some prior patches that are going to require this small room to be painted completely, because every wall is banged up. So this room will be added to it. Now, one thing I do want to point out is this jamb right here on this door, Scott. You had a double cylinder, one down here, and you had one up here. And what it looks like is over time, of course, you had windstorms. It's been pulled out of the jamb here and split it, and it's been pulled down here and split down there as well. And it was just hanging off, flapping every time. We've had some really bad weather too, very, very windy. So what I've told my boys is to do is go ahead and pull this center piece of jamb. We're gonna pull the door, this door here off, and we're gonna replace that jamb piece, one piece, brand new piece of wood, and we're gonna go back with the double cylinder setup. And if anything happens to this perfect repair, it'll be on the tenant and we can back charge them for it. All right, so we'll fix this right this time so it'll quit flapping around and won't end up being busting your door open, and you should be good to go. And I'm trying to make sure I've covered everything. Just a little FYI, that's the video of your wood rot on the front, and we're gonna try to replace as many of these balusters that are missing or just kind of just flopping in the wind there. Now, as far as like this wood rot and stuff like this, I can slap some trim paint on it just so it's not so offensive, and then we'll worry about this when we get to selling a house in a year or two. It's pretty bad, but I don't want to get too deep on this. I mean, your rails are starting to split. So why don't we just cross this expensive bridge a little bit later when you got $1 million business of flipping cars, and you can cross that bridge and we'll do it right. We'll talk at you later. We'll fix that too. This is a supplement video shot on the same day, Scott. We just demoed out your hand railings, and now we get to see what's underneath. I'm fixing to go to Home Depot to get what we need. The bottom line, the base of your pillars are falling apart and they're rotted. I don't think I could put these back together. They're rotted. So I'm gonna have to buy some boards and replace this. And molding is it's falling apart. So probably what I'll do, since I got to buy some of this molding anyway, I'll go ahead and replace with the waste that I have left over, the really bad ones in the front, so we can get by and replace those. But here's the reason why you're getting this video. Besides the wood rot we're finding, we're just like on the other house, Scott. If you don't paint these things and stay on top of it, it just turns into a nightmare. But my worker about got himself killed, poor Johnny, because he was coming down the stairs and your stairs started to collapse on the back of your house. That's what your pillow looks like, by the way. But back to your stairs. Horrendous construction, because your stairs are only held up by 2 nails on each side. So this whole time you've been going up and down these stairs based on 4 nails. I stepped on it and I about fell on it too. Go ahead, John. Pull on it, see what happens just a little bit. Just go ahead and pull it back. So your stairs are they're history. That's good. It gets the point. So that's where it was broken. You can see that's a really old break, and it just got worse. You're darn lucky I found this and nobody got hurt, because if that warrant officer would have moved in, no disrespect to him, but he's kind of a jackass. You know, as far as like one of those officers that thinks his shit don't stink. And we would have ended up in some type of litigation over falling down the stairs. And God forbid if it was a kid that was jumping down on the stairs and it gave loose, or his wife or something. So better to find it now than to get an ugly surprise via litigation. And in all reality, Scott, if you look real close at these things, they're really, really worn. They're weathered and they're in bad shape. So this right here is a 48-inch wide stair with 3 stringers. And what we're going to do is we're just going to go ahead and replace it with the 60-inch, which is appropriate, because they weren't even centered on the door. If you look right here, they're to the left of center. So what we're going to do is we're going to stick to the left opening here, or we're going to swing it an extra 12 inches to the right to make it wider so it's more centered up on your doors here. And it'll give you extra wide steps and won't look retarded. And then what I'm going to do is reinforce it so it'll be a stronger stair system, so this doesn't happen again. Anyway, I just want to give you a briefing on it so you know what's going on, and we will go from there.